The Star Wars universe is very interesting. It has over-the-top vehicles that can travel faster than the speed of light and travel planet to planet. Guns and weaponry are highly advanced, like everybody walks around with laser or blaster bolts, even if they suck at aiming. The world of Star Wars, they treat the galaxy itself like it's an actual country or a planet, because there's like multiple planets that are under the same law of the same government, no matter which government we're talking about, whether we're talking about the Empire, the First Order, blah, blah, blah. These light speed ships and technology allows people to be able to travel from planet to planet. And when you're on the planet, they still have stuff that can levitate. Common Star Wars transportation, right? But also in this galaxy, there is this mysterious power known as the Force, energy field created by life that binds the galaxy together. There's certain people or individuals that get the privilege to harness such power to give them ridiculous, extraordinary abilities that other beings in this universe can't do, like levitating, trick minds, blah, blah, blah. They call beings that can use the Force Force-sensitive beings. Not to mention, since it's a galaxy and not one planet, it's like a lot of different species in Star Wars that interact with each other and talk amongst each other. But despite all of this, you guys already know about the famous being known as Darth Vader. He's one of the mightiest beings that can use the Force, the chosen one could say. In the Star Wars multiverse, or one could say Star Wars lore in general, there's technically two universes. The main one, which is up here, and then there's extra stuff. Both of these universes have similar events, but then once it gets so far in the timeline, certain things like this era starts to get a little different. Heck, in the Legends, they even go deep back in time in the timeline, like the Old Republic and old Force users from back in the day. But today, let's talk about the Legends version of Darth Vader himself. Let's get it. He's not going to have as many feats as his son from Legends, because you guys already know he met his demise in the prequel movies and stuff, so obviously he's going to have limited feats. Well, Grandmaster Luke kept on living and stuff and getting more feats, facing off against Palpatine clones, blah, blah, blah. But let's get it. He's one of those characters that has gone through quite a bit of evolution. He may not be as crazy like Palpatine with Force Lightning, but Vader can do like a variant of it when it comes to Force Lightning. It's like a little ball of it right here to subdue beings in it if he wishes. Not something he does quite often though. It's occasions like this, you can even see him using lightning back at Starkiller, showing that he can use it to some degree, in Legends at least. With the Force, he can just disarm you and steal your gun. If you try to blast him, he can literally absorb your shots. Just like in canon, it happens in Legends too. Standard Force abilities like reading your thoughts, of course, he can do that as well, like others. Even giant creatures, he's even told what to do, even though this one got the jump on him for a minute. He can Jedi mind trick them. He's a being that can withstand blasts that literally disintegrate stormtroopers. Like, they get disintegrated, but Vader just straight up eats it because he's strong in the Force. And it helps his durability. Him and Starkiller are going to be fighting a lot in this video, just warning you. He's a being, he's technically a swordsman. He uses a laser sword, and his physicals are enhanced by the power of the Force. So he can increase his physical attributes or reflexes with the Force itself, making him way above superhuman. It's occasions like this that heavily imply he has raw strength. The fact he can kick beings that far, cracks tables with strikes. He will mix in his physicals with his lightsaber sword combat and like that. It's so weird seeing Vader actually use hands engrave the ground. Even bigger creatures, imagine Vader just pulling up on you, embodying you with a hit. Not even getting on the Force yet, he can use his lightsaber combat along with literally crushing a stormtrooper's head. It's implied he can use the Force to like hold himself to the ground. Even if other beings get sucked out of the ship, he can just kind of hold himself in place without getting sucked out. Remember that this is Legends, but a lot of the Legends stuff, it still happened from the movies in Legends. So yeah, this still technically happened, even though this is still in the movies. This is in Legends, and this feat is also canon. Some of their feats share from one another. Dude, it's so weird seeing Vader use just straight punches. He was being restrained right here, for example, and literally used his power to break free. Big alien creatures he can temporarily hold physically and then murk it with a lightsaber stab. Even if you try to trap him in an electric shock net type thing, he will bust out. Doesn't care if you're a woman or a man, he will pop your neck. It's little moments like this nobody pays attention to, but you actually have to be pretty strong to hold a grown man one-armed. Not only doing that, but also grabbing you by the hair, then tossing you, like occasions like this. Hit you into a pillar to topple the pillar with the raw strength. So you already got to worry about him just boxing you up with hands, but he has a laser sword that he can technically use to increase his striking power. There's a lot of things we've seen him cut in half. Stuff like this, like a casket he cuts open. Same with metal doors. Can just rip it open. Fighting other beings that are strong, cut their lightsaber up. Same with battling beings like Maul. Cut his up. Metal machinery this big he cuts. Even flying vehicles like speeders. It's obvious he can cut through stone and cut trees, right? So what do you think is going to happen if he actually uses this sword, laser sword, on flesh and blood beings? If he can cut through trees, concrete, and stone like nothing, you know your body doesn't stand a chance. To make it worse, he can throw the lightsaber and then have it come back to him with the Force. You'll be surprised how robotic and bulky he looks. He's actually pretty fast. I mean, just look at this. He's deflecting all this bullcrap, even with his hand. Deflecting it back because of speed and reflexes and precognition on top of it. The best way to get a true understanding of Vader's speed is looking at the beings he's fought. In the Legends lore, known as Jax Paven, who in this book has shown speed, can block beams that are going at the speed of light thanks to his force augmentation. They even explicitly talk about how the speed of light is just under 300,000 kilometers per second, and you are currently 7.3 meters from me. Your force augmentation reflexes is definitely working. Yeah, Vader's known for picking people up with telekinesis and bullying and choking them. He can choke multiple men at the same time. If you're a weak type of being, he can quickly take you out with a force choke. Doesn't have to look at you to do it. It's one thing to ragdoll beings that don't have the force, so they can't really put up a defense to block you from grabbing them with the force. But then there's another thing to ragdoll beings like Jedi that actually have the force. It basically means he's breaking through your defense to sling you that way. With the Jedi, he pushed one back, or he can even push groups of them back. Even blasting an extremely strong force being like Starkiller, he can shield from all this BS and even blast all you men back at the same dang time with his raw blast power. Yeah, he can use the force for defense to make him have a barrier around himself, like on some Invisible Woman type stuff. If you're not strong enough with the force, you can't even get inside to even try to melee him. He can use the environment as a shield, like raising sand, for example. Not even beings like Bubba is safe. The raw power to blast you through metal structures, that's just a normal thing for Vader. Like that. Wooden barriers, he can Kamehameha wave blast that apart. The same goes for Gates when it comes to blast power. He's not a fan of doors, so he'll just blast them down. In the middle of a fight, he would just randomly slam a tree on you. Big bull crap like this he can lift up to try to crush Starkiller in this particular occasion. I hope you guys aren't tired of me bringing up Starkiller because it's going to be a lot. Roof type stuff he can make collapse to crush you. If you try to snipe him, he will raise the wind. He will even use your lightsaber to stab you with your own thing, or use another sword that's nowhere near the area to stab you. He has the raw force power to slam starships together. Like, yeah, look how big they were. He can slam them together. Big platforms like this he can lift up. These ain't no little platform. Yeah. Lift them up, then throw it. Imagine these beasts think they doing something, but they don't know who they pulling up to. Vader just pushes them aside. Vehicles this big, y'all are not safe. He can just grab big Y-wings and slam them. Mining vehicles, he could slam. Large BS like this, or like this, he can lift up and throw. In a fight with you, he can just throw stones at you when he's getting ready to sword combat you. Stone table type BS, he can sling. Will literally toss a starship at some troops. Aside from petty stuff like this, like throwing little small stuff, he can just straight up lift up mechs themselves and just dismantle or destroy them and rip them apart. Entire huts he can just destroy like this with blast power. Can straight up incinerate a stormtrooper, can obviously blast through stone walls. This is why you see him blast stormtrooper helmets off. When it comes to understanding how strong he really is, you got to look at his battles with Starkiller or Starkiller and his clone. His force power is comparable to his because of the beam struggles they've had. Beam struggles like this, for example, Vader has clashed with Starkiller in. Even though I gotta admit, this is one of the beings that's got like the edge on Vader plenty of times in this game saga. You're probably wondering why am I bringing up Starkiller so much? He has one of the most flashy on-screen feats of all time, bringing down a Star Destroyer or something. In the narrative of Legends, in the Legends novelization of The Force Unleashed, the video game, they pretty much confirm it, that this device or machine he moved weighs at least 1 million tons. Even though this vehicle was already heading towards the ground, he still was able to move something that's this massive, which means Starkiller can move something this heavy, which means Vader can also move something that weighs over 1 million tons. If you think them lifting up Star Destroyers is absurd, well, they've done similar stuff in canon, and also in Legends, there are beings that are not even Jedi Masters, aka Padawan level beings. In the Star Wars Clone Wars Adventures, beings that are not Jedi Masters or anywhere close to Vader or Starkiller. There was this big old Star Destroyer vessel ship that was about to crash and kill everybody, according to these beings. You telling me a Padawan that's not Luke Skywalker tier or Vader tier or Starkiller tier has enough raw force ability by herself, while exhausted, while battle damaged, to slow down the momentum of a Star Destroyer, something that weighs 1 million tons at least? Whatever she can do, Vader can do better. But this did take enormous strain, but he's vastly above beings like this. And if she can slow it down, so can Vader. And if you still think I'm tripping about these beings as raw force ability, you guys remember the Jedi High Council members, aka some of the most top tier Jedi in the business. This super long neck Jedi High Council member Pooh, for example, had enough raw force power, contained the raw power of an idol that had enough raw force, raw power to wipe out an entire planet itself. They've mentioned multiple times on how the power within it could wipe out entire planet. More lore on it. If the force energy of this statue was released, it is called the Destroyer of Worlds for a reason. They said the explosion it was believed to tear an entire planet apart. Yeah, stated that this artifact can destroy an entire planet. More lore on the statue being a planet busting type of thing if the energy was released. This infant of Shah statue. This Jedi, for example, can use the force to bind the energy so they won't break apart. One could make an argument that this could be a planet-busting feat because he was able to contain such forces, but this was an extreme strain on his body, even took his life. And if this is to be taken as a planet-busting containing type of feat, this is a being that doesn't even really care for fighting. He would rather use illusions to scare beings off. If we assume Vader is above beings like this, which he definitely should be because he's freaking Vader. Would feats like this mean if Anakin or Darth Vader had to use the Force to contain energies that had planet-busting energy, would he be able to redirect this energy back inside from busting out, holding in planet-busting type of energy with his Force ability? That's something to think about, right? I personally think if a being like this can contain planet energies with the Force by holding it in, I don't see why somebody like Vader, as mighty as he is in the Star Wars universe, shouldn't be able to use the Force to contain the energy inside of that ball as well, raw power output wise, right? But that could be just me. I mean, you got to remember the stuff his son was able to do in Legends as well. This doesn't really seem that far-fetched when you think about Luke Skywalker. In books like this, you know, Luke Skywalker is his son. It was stated he has powers that even humble the Death Star. So for Darth Vader to be a planet buster in Legends doesn't seem that far-fetched. Not to mention beings like Brachus, another being that Luke has fought. Beings like this that Luke has fought. It's straight up stated or implied that there's a possible way that beings like this could make a star or sun explode if they wanted to. And I shouldn't have to remind you how big a sun is compared to Earth. Even if you manipulate a small portion of the sun, it's still bigger than Earth. You know what I mean? So with all this in mind, even though Vader wasn't alive at this point no more, at the time period that Luke did this, destroying a planet doesn't seem that far out of range when you consider all the stuff his son eventually is able to do in the future in this Legends continuity. I know stuff like this is hard to imagine, but Legends gets crazy. That's just about when I do it, everybody. I know his feats don't seem as flashy as Grandmaster Luke Skywalker, but you gotta remember, he's the main character. He was the original hero of the saga and has like a whole bunch of extra feats after the events of Vader's death. But regardless of his lack of flashy showings, you still have to respect Lord Vader, the father of Luke Skywalker. But before I get going, I gotta say quick thanks to the donations, everybody. Helps out a lot. Respect Vader, especially in Legends. Legends overall is just over the top. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.